What if the most broken person in the region became the clearest evidence of God's power? What if evil is far more real than most people want to admit, but God's authority is even greater? And what if one encounter with Jesus can restore a life that everyone else has already given up on completely? After calming the storm on the Sea of Galilee, Jesus and his disciples arrived in the region of the Gerasenes, across from Galilee. The atmosphere changed immediately. Moments earlier, the disciples feared drowning in violent waves. Now they stepped into another kind of storm entirely, a spiritual one. As Jesus stepped onto land, a man came toward him from the town. But this was no ordinary meeting. Luke describes a life completely shattered. The man was possessed by demons for a long time. He wore no clothes. He did not live in a house anymore. Instead, he lived among the tombs. Imagine the scene. Dark caves carved into rocky hillsides where the dead were buried. Isolation, filth, fear. The man wandered among graves like someone already separated from humanity itself. People likely avoided the area entirely. Parents probably warned children never to go near him. He had become a symbol of terror, hopelessness, and chaos. Luke says the people had tried many times to restrain him with chains and shackles, but he repeatedly broke free and was driven by demons into lonely places. This detail matters deeply. Human strength could not heal him. Society could not control him. Isolation could not fix him. The man's condition exceeded human solutions entirely. And honestly, modern people still encounter versions of this brokenness today. Not always through visible demon possession, exactly like this story describes, but through lives consumed by addiction, violence, despair, mental torment, spiritual darkness, self-destruction, or complete isolation. People often reach places where families feel helpless, communities give up, and individuals begin believing restoration is impossible. That is exactly the kind of place Jesus entered. And the moment the man saw Jesus, something astonishing happened. He cried out, fell before him, and shouted, "What do you want with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God?" Notice something important immediately. The demons recognized Jesus' identity clearly. Even before many people fully understood who he was, the spiritual forces opposing God recognized his authority instantly. The demons knew exactly who stood before them, and they were terrified. The man begged Jesus not to torment him because Jesus had already commanded the impure spirit to come out. Then Jesus asked a question, "What is your name?" The reply came, "Legion," because many demons had entered him. A Roman legion contained thousands of soldiers. The name suggests overwhelming spiritual oppression and internal torment beyond what most people can imagine. The man was not merely struggling slightly. His life had been completely overtaken. And this reveals something many modern people avoid discussing. Evil is real. Spiritual darkness is real. The Bible consistently presents humanity as living within spiritual conflict, not merely psychological or social struggle alone. That does not mean every problem comes from demons directly. Scripture also recognizes illness, human sin, emotional suffering, and brokenness in many forms. But this story makes clear that spiritual evil exists and seeks destruction. Notice what happened to this man's life under demonic control. Isolation, shame, chaos, loss of identity, self-destruction, separation from community. These patterns still reflect the nature of evil today. Darkness destroys. It isolates people from God, others, and even themselves. And perhaps one of the saddest details is that the man no longer lived among the living. He lived among tombs, among death. That image carries spiritual symbolism too. Apart from God, humanity drifts towards spiritual death and isolation. But Jesus entered the region intentionally. He crossed a stormy sea to reach one broken man everyone else feared. That matters. Because throughout the Gospels, Jesus consistently moves toward people others avoid. The rejected, the unclean, the hopeless, the spiritually tormented. Society often abandons difficult people. Jesus pursued them. The demons begged Jesus not to send them into the abyss, a place associated with judgment and imprisonment for evil spirits. Nearby, a large herd of pigs fed on the hillside. The demons begged permission to enter the pigs instead, and Jesus allowed it. Immediately, the demons entered the pigs, and the herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and drowned. The scene must have stunned everyone watching. The supernatural reality became impossible to ignore. The destructive nature of evil revealed itself instantly. Destruction followed wherever the demons went. Then Luke describes one of the most beautiful transformations in the Gospel. The people returned and found the man sitting at Jesus' feet, dressed and in his right mind. 3 details. Sitting peacefully, clothed with dignity, mentally restored. The contrast is incredible. Earlier he wandered violently among tombs. Now he sat calmly beside Jesus. Earlier he lived naked in shame and isolation. Now he was restored publicly with dignity. Earlier, chains could not restrain him. Now peace transformed him internally. This is what Jesus does. He restores what evil destroys, not merely externally, deeply, completely. And perhaps the most beautiful detail is where the man sat, at Jesus' feet. That position represented peace, humility, discipleship, and safety. The place once dominated by torment became filled with calm. But the reaction of the townspeople is surprising. Luke says they became afraid. Why? Because genuine encounters with divine power often unsettle people. The transformation was undeniable. The supernatural authority of Jesus became impossible to dismiss, and instead of celebrating fully, fear spread across the region. Sometimes people prefer familiar brokenness over disruptive transformation. The townspeople had learned to live with the demonized man at a distance, but the authority of Jesus forced them to confront deeper realities. And many people still react similarly today. Transformation sounds appealing until it disrupts comfort, control, or familiar patterns. Jesus changes things radically, and radical change can feel uncomfortable even when good. The people asked Jesus to leave their region because they were overcome with fear. Imagine that. The Son of God arrived, bringing healing, freedom, and restoration, and they wanted distance. Human beings sometimes resist God not because his power is weak, but because his authority feels overwhelming. Meanwhile, the restored man begged to go with Jesus. That reaction makes complete sense. Jesus had given him back his life, his mind, his dignity, his humanity. Of course, he wanted to stay near the one who rescued him. But Jesus gave him a different assignment. Return home and tell how much God has done for you. This matters deeply. The man who once terrified the region became a witness to God's power. The person society rejected became evidence of divine restoration. And God still works this way often. People with painful pasts frequently become powerful testimonies of grace, because transformed lives reveal God's power visibly. The man went away proclaiming throughout the town how much Jesus had done for him. Imagine the conversations. People who once feared him now saw him restored. Calm, clear-minded, peaceful. The impossible had happened. And perhaps this story challenges modern assumptions more than people realize. Modern culture often assumes hopeless people remain hopeless permanently. Addicts stay addicts. Broken people stay broken. The damaged remain damaged forever. But Jesus consistently interrupted hopeless stories. That does not mean every struggle disappears instantly or every healing looks identical. But the gospel repeatedly reveals Christ's authority to restore what seems beyond repair. This story also reveals something profound about identity. The demons answered Jesus' question with legion. The man's identity had become consumed by darkness. But after encountering Jesus, he became known not by torment, but by restoration. Many people today also define themselves primarily through pain, failure, addiction, trauma, or shame. But Jesus restores identity, not by pretending brokenness never existed, but by bringing healing stronger than the brokenness itself. Another powerful truth here is that no place is too dark for Christ to enter. The region of tombs symbolized uncleanness, fear, and death culturally, yet Jesus walked directly into it. Some people believe their lives are too ruined, sinful, or broken for God to reach them. This story says otherwise. Jesus moved intentionally toward darkness, carrying authority greater than the darkness itself. And notice, the demons feared Jesus, not the other way around. That matters because many people imagine spiritual evil as equal to God somehow. But throughout Scripture, God's authority remains supreme. Jesus did not struggle, negotiate endlessly, or barely win. He commanded, and the demons obeyed. This reveals divine authority beyond human limitation. The story also exposes how evil isolates people. The man lived separated from society, family, dignity, and peace. That pattern still appears constantly. Sin and darkness push people toward loneliness, secrecy, shame, and fragmentation. But Jesus restores relationship, community, human dignity, connection. Healing often includes being brought back into healthy relationship with others. And perhaps someone listening feels emotionally isolated even now, disconnected, ashamed, broken internally. This story offers hope. No darkness places someone beyond Christ's reach. No chains remain stronger than his authority. No life is too ruined for restoration. The man among the tombs probably seemed hopeless to everyone else, but not to Jesus. And maybe that truth needs repeating. People may give up on someone long before God does. Families may lose hope. Communities may stop believing change is possible. Individuals themselves may stop believing restoration could ever happen. But Jesus crossed a storm to reach one broken man everyone else feared. That reveals his heart clearly. He pursues the lost, the rejected, the spiritually bound, the forgotten, and his power remains greater than the forces destroying human lives. Another fascinating detail is that the restored man immediately wanted to follow Jesus physically. But Jesus sent him back home instead. Sometimes people assume meaningful ministry belongs only to preachers, religious leaders, or public figures. But Jesus often sends ordinary restored people back into ordinary places carrying extraordinary testimonies, family members, neighbors, co-workers, friends. The man's transformed life itself became evidence of God's reality, and genuine transformation still speaks powerfully today. People notice peace replacing chaos, freedom replacing bondage, hope replacing despair, compassion replacing bitterness. The gospel becomes visible through changed lives. This story also reminds believers that spiritual battles are real, but fear should not dominate because Christ's authority remains greater. Too much fascination with evil itself becomes unhealthy. The focus of this passage is not the power of demons ultimately, it is the greater power of Jesus. Darkness appears terrifying until true light enters the scene, and then darkness loses authority immediately. The disciples had just watched Jesus calm a storm over nature. Now they watched him calm a storm inside a human life. Both miracles reveal the same truth. Nothing chaotic remains beyond Christ's authority. Not nature, not evil spirits, not brokenness, not despair. And perhaps that is why the restored man could sit peacefully afterward. Because real peace is found not merely in changed circumstances, but in the presence of Jesus himself. Thank you for watching this video. If this message encouraged your faith, please like this video, share it with someone who may need hope and restoration today, and subscribe to Holy Path Insights for more biblical teachings that strengthen hearts and reveal the power of God's truth. May the Lord bring peace where there has been chaos, healing where there has been brokenness, and freedom through the transforming authority of Jesus Christ.